Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Hebraica, and I'm looking at Ruth 1, verses 10, 11, and 12. It's still the sort of the middle part of this chapter, the first chapter. We're at a point where Naomi's returning to Bethlehem, about halfway point. I generally try to visualize this as somewhere close to, either in Jericho or close to Jericho, because then it sort of puts her in contact with Rahab as well. Rahab is a couple of generations before this, but here Naomi is walking back to Bethlehem. She's heard that God has been favorable to Bethlehem, providing food, providing rains for the crops, and so Bethlehem once again has food to eat. Now Naomi's coming back. Her life is unraveled. Things have gone badly for her. Her husband has died. Her two sons have died. She has a couple of Moabite gals coming along, which she might have a hard time explaining to the other people in Bethlehem. She would also really not want to explain how her life has kind of gone to pieces. So she's really at the end of her rope emotionally, and things are tough. And so she's going to present a few wild ideas to the daughters-in-law. And so when you're reading literature that's sort of a theoretical thing, makes it much kind of harder to sort out. But we can do it here. We'll be able to do it. Translators have done a fairly decent job of handling these things. And one of the reasons that we are studying the book of Ruth is to look at the female plural forms. In other words, and we do see numerous examples of that in the passage we're looking at today. So just take a good look at those. You don't see a lot of that in the Hebrew Bible, but you do see it here most certainly. And so it's a blessing to look at some unique grammar forms in this passage. So on to the study. And they said to her, these are the Moabite women, Orpah and Ruth, said to Naomi, to her, no, we will return with you to your people. Okay, with you, Imecha. So it's we're going along. We're not going to give up on you. Okay, we'll stick together here. So we will return with you. So a nice expression as to the love that those two gals had for their mother-in-law. Apparently had established a very good relationship. But then Naomi said, okay, turn back, my daughters. Give up on this. I'm heading back, and it's a lost cause. I mean, don't stick with me. I've messed up my life, and I don't want you to mess up your life. In other words, turn back, get out of here. This word shovna, and shovna appears twice. Anytime he repeats something, it's important. Okay, so it's important here. Turn back, my daughters. Turn back, my daughters. Okay, shovna banotai, shovna banotai. So why will you go with me? How come you're sticking with me, a lost cause? And now she's presenting something, wild idea, theoretical thing that's really not going to happen. Have I yet sons in my womb? Would I be able to have children as yet? So that just wait another 20 years and they can be your husbands? In other words, am I here to provide another set of husbands for you? I've already provided two husbands. They both died. But are you going to stick around long enough for another set to come along? No, this isn't happening. Turn back, my daughters. Go your way, for I'm too old to have a husband. Now, there's a lot of, we'll get into the Hebrew structure of this particular passage, but it's got a beautiful structure to it. It's Zakanti, Hayiti, Zakanti, Hayiti, have hope, Tigba, and that to have a husband this night, and then I would bear sons, Yadati. We're going to get into it's a beautiful series of first-person verbs here, and they're all sort of theoretical presentations of what might or might happen, isn't going to happen, but and this is sort of a way of Naomi saying to her daughters-in-law, I'm a lost cause. Give up. Go home. Just find your own place with your own family, and this isn't going forward. It's how you say it. It's something that we should learn from, because there are times in our lives that we will feel emotionally wrung out. Had it. I've done what I can. And that's the end of me. feeling sorry for ourselves. Sometimes we do have a sense of, oh, my life is totally messed up. Why should I continue? I've seen, I think about, a few months ago, one of my fellow pastors committed suicide, and you're always kind of asking, wow, why would somebody be driven to do that sort of thing? I mean, at the end of the rope, and it's a very sad scenario. So we can learn from this. Naomi here is saying, my life's totally messed up. Please don't stick with me, and please go home, and all that. Now, in the development of the story, at this point, it's a low point emotionally, culturally, socially for Naomi. And at the end of this first chapter, she blames it all on the Lord. But as the story moves forward, and the Ruth goes out to glean in the fields and meets Boaz, and she's redeemed, and she's rescued, and Naomi's rescued, and so forth. And this all comes under protection of God. Their life is put back together. In other words, there is a life, and if you're faithful, if you get to work and so forth, the Lord often does come to always comes to our rescue in a certain sense, and so that's what we have. First in the first chapter of our book, Ruth, it's one of things fall apart, and then the next 3 chapters are things that get put back together. So let's take a look at how things are falling apart at this point anyway. And on to the study. Your people, amecha, this is a preposition of towards or for, amecha, your people. Am is people, and amech, this is for yours. Feminine ending of the kaf right here. If it would be masculine, it would be a kaf kametz, but this is just simply kaf. Okay. Always, when you see the shava at the end, it's a silent shava. It's not pronounced. It just simply occupies space in this particular consonant. Okay. Lemech, towards your people, to your people. Le amech. Okay. Le amech. In my womb, bemeach. That's in my womb, in my insides. Okay. It's just simply insides, but that's the womb where the child would be born. Am I carrying any other children in my womb? And Naomi's saying, is this possible? She says, no, and at the end, she says, that's not possible. And now there's a whole series of verbs here. I am old, I say, I am, I give birth, okay? These are all first person suffix forms in the structure of Hebrew verbs. You have prefix forms and you have suffix forms. These are all suffix. These are suffixes at the end. These are all at the end verbs in first person singular. First person singular. All of them are, you just look at these. They're all identical here. T, 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 T. This one's missing a dagesh, and I don't really know why, but it's not there. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, but T, 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 T. So, zakanti, I'm old. Amarti, I say. Hayiti, I am. Yaladti, I give birth. So all of these things are happening in the first person. And all of these are, well, we're not going to argue with her saying she's sakanti, but probably maybe around 40 years of age, but too old really to be thinking of starting her own family. So yeah, she's sakanti. It's a state of verb. It's a state of being. In other words, I am old. Okay? I am old. And with this kind of ending, it's often the first person is the first choice for tense, for time here. So zakanti, I'm old. I am saying, I am hayiti, and I'm giving. Well, I would or might give birth. This isn't really. It wouldn't be a true present tense, but just a theoretical present tense. I might give birth. I would give birth. Yadati. The verb's based on yeled. Yeled is a youth and a child. And then this is then the verbal form of yeled, yadati. It can be also be a causative for men when they begot, when they engender someone. Okay, so then it can be used both for male and female, but here it's actually common verb. It's a singular common verb here. I am giving birth. I would give birth here. Yalati. Timing and tensing and so forth is based on the context of where these things stand. not on what we're seeing here. We just saw this, the way this would all run through here. We just say, okay, this is our tendency in English thought, Spanish thought, and so forth, is to base the tensing on the morphology of the verb. No, the tensing of Hebrew verbs is based on the way they sit within the passage and the way they work together. And we can call that context. We can call that structure of the sentence. But its timing and its tensing and so forth is based on how it functions within the sentence. So, zakanti, amarti, haiti, yaladti. Tikva. And this also appears in the passage we're looking at, and it's hope, tikva. Kof here is the root letter for this particular word, and the kof is something you're holding on to. I think Psalm 40 begins kava, kaviti. I hold on to very tightly. I hope very, very strongly. Okay, kav, something you're hanging on to. The original paleographic form of this letter was a line with a knot on the top, and you're holding on to something that is tied onto something very strong. We see the very same word in Joshua 2 with Rahab, and she has the tikvat. She has the rope that you're holding on to, and there it is, the rope that gives you hope. Okay, so and it has shani, it has a red stain to it as well, so red thread in it. So it's something that gives you hope. Tikva. What she's saying here is, would I have any kind of hope of having a husband in this evening? And say, no, that's not true. So in other words, what she's saying, my hope has run very thin. It's really kind of run out. And so, humanly speaking, and her emotional state and everything that's happening with Naomi at this point, she's run out of hope. And so the rest of the story, chapters 2, 3, and 4 of the book, all are focused in on restoring hope. So the first part, we don't hear much of hope of anything at all, blaming the Lord for all the bad things that have happened to her. Some things that maybe she's done herself, but blaming it on the Lord, blaming it on El Shad. Shad's the tough guy, El Shaddai, and she really is lacking here in hope. Would I have some hope? No, I don't have any hope. That's forget it. So that's what Naomi here is telling her daughters-in-law, that she's very much lacking in hope. And we get to the passage, and Batomarna lach ki itach nashuv le'emech. Now, this is, as you can see very quickly, somewhat longer. Most of the Hebrew verbs are somewhat short, but this one's got some length to it. Okay, and the root here is aleph mem resh. Okay, amar, to say, to speak, and then the prefix feminine prefix here, and then the prefix feminine plural ending on na. Okay, and then they said lach to her. Okay? They said to her, the people, the antecedents of this particular verb are the two Moabite women, then Orpha and Ruth are the ones saying this. Okay, Batomarna, and then they said to her, ki itach, because with you. Okay, this is it is with, because with you, nashuv, we return. So this is a plural, but in first person plural form. Shav, shuv is to return, repent or return. We are returning, imech, with you, with you, to your. Okay, as you can tell, we're kind of running into an issue here. La le amech, with your people. Okay? So ami is people, and to the people of you. Okay, but also the same ayin mem is to with. Okay, so we're going with your people. We're going with you. Okay, with you. Okay, so people is quite often the verb or the noun people is very much the same as the preposition with, im, ayin mem. Both of them have ayin mem as their roots. One runs with a hirik im, the other one's am. So one runs with an I, the other one runs with an A. Okay, but they have the same consonantal roots, and so they're somewhat related. In other words, it's very easy to swap them out. And in Hebrew, there probably is a sense here of both of those things working. You have with your people or with you. Okay, same thing. Okay, so with you and with your people. And so le'amech. Vatomer Naomi shovna banotai lama tilakana imi haodli banim bemea hayu lechem lanashim. And she said, this then is the prefix form of to say Amar, Omer, accenting again very much Miel towards the top here, up here, Tomer, and she said, Noemi said, Shovna, return, hortatory imperative, go back. We've seen Nashuv in the previous verse, which is we're going back, and this one's you go back, okay? Shovna, return, you guys go back. Banotai, my daughters, okay? My daughters, okay? Daughters of me. Ot is plural, banot, and the patah yod is my daughters. The yod here is possessive suffix on the end of this particular verb or noun right here, banotai. Lama, why? Okay, there isn't much accenting to show that we got a pretty substantial break here in the sense, but here it is. Okay, lama. So and here whenever you see a interrogative type particle, this is what it is. Lama, why? Okay, we see it in Psalm 22. Eli Eli lama. Okay, why? Okay, it is actually an agglutination of ma, which is what, and la, for what. Okay, so the lama, the purpose on the front of an interrogative. Okay, lama, why? Telakena, why do you walk? Okay, telakena. Halak would be the root. This is the feminine prefix standing, and this is the plural ending then. Okay, telakena. Why are you walking? Imi, with me. Okay, here we do see the preposition functioning very well here. With me. We've had emech, which was my people. Here's a me. This is with me. Okay. Ha'odli, is there as yet? Again. Okay. Is there again? Ha'odli. Od is another time. Okay. Ha'odli, to me. Possessive. Banim, sons. B'meach, in my womb, inside of me, in my insides. B'meach. B'hayu, and they are. Okay. Hayu. Context is going to say, wow, if they are or they would be. Okay. Hayu. Lachem, to you. This is actually masculine form, even though we're talking to a couple of females here. That's one of the sort of frustrating part of the first chapter. But we've seen this numerous times, and I'm ready to say, okay, the form is masculine, but does function for masculine and feminine. It will work for both. Okay, here it is. That's what it's doing, working for both. Okay, lachem, for you. Okay, in English we don't have a problem. It's just one single you. That's it. We don't distinguish male, female here. This is in masculine form, but she still is talking to the two gals. So lachem, to you. La amashin, for men, to be husbands. Okay, to be husbands for you. This is very much theoretical. It's really not going to happen. She's not going to get married tonight. She's not going to have a husband tonight. She's not going to have children. She's not going to have this. Okay, very much theoretical. So it's a very much emotional impact of Noemi really coming to the end of her rope, kind of running out in terms of wild suggestions. So we're on our way here. And this then is what she's talking about here. Shovna, return. This is repeating from the previous verse as well. And anytime he will repeat something, it's important. Okay, Shovna, banotai, return, my daughters. Lechnan, take a walk, take a hike. Okay, lech, halach. This is the root here is halach, but this is a hortatory. Lechna, take a hike, go walk. Okay, lechna, go. Ki, because. Zakanti. Now we have a whole series of first-person singular suffixed forms. Okay, suffix is at the end. Okay, Zakanti, Amarti, Dahaiti, yaladti. Okay, these are all zing. They all run together here. I think I separated these out in the previous slides in order to just sort of point out how these things all stack up together. It's really quite an interesting sequence here. They all end in the same tau yod, and they all have the same accenting as well. Zakanti, amarti, hayiti, yaladti. So zakanti, I'm old, state of verb. Okay, I'm old and rickety. Zakana actually is the graybeards. Okay, so zakana is used a whole lot more in masculine settings, but it works here too. Okay, because it's zakanti is actually a common singular suffix form of this verb. I am old, and so I'm old, and by her standards, probably around 40 years of age or so, but she considers herself old. Okay? Zakanti, mi hayot. Now, to have or to be, laish, to be with a man, and this particular root, it shares the same root as this verb right here. Okay, got mi hayot and hayiti. This is I am, I'm with, or I am. And this one is mihayot, to be, to be. So this is a preposition from. Hayot is the infinitive form of haya. Okay, mihayot, construct ending here of the tau. So absolute, it would be a construct absolute ending of infinitive form of haya. Okay, so there it is. So mihayot, to be, and I am. Okay, same root. Hey yod, hey yod. These roots are shared between these two verbs. This is the infinitive. This is an active, first person singular active verb here of I am. Mehiot, laish, as to be with a man, with a husband. The translators are always very kind to Noemi and to Ruth and so forth. The word ish, and it's very true. Ish means man, but also means husband. Okay, so when you're talking about a family relationship, when you're talking about somebody being together, yeah, it's ish as a husband. Okay, ish. So it's a good translation as a husband. Ki, because amarti, I am saying, or would say. These are all how you say it, just postulations, just simply suggestions or crazy ideas. Okay, amarti, yesh li tikba. Would there be for me? Okay, is there exists? Yesh is to exist. In Hebrew, you have yesh, there is, and ain, there isn't. Okay, so those two kind of paired. This one, is there to me? Would there be for me? Tikva, any hope? Is there any hope for me? Theoretical question. Answer is forget it. This isn't happening, sort of thing. And so, wow. And it's a kind of an interesting use of the word tikva. She's using tikva sort of as it ain't going to happen. And so what the story is telling us here, her hope or her level of hope has really dropped a long ways. She has no hope in God. She has no hope in her people. She has no hope in herself and so forth. But then the rest of the story, chapters 2, 3, and 4, restore the hope that she should be having. So that's one of the beauties of this particular story. First story, life is totally messed up, blame it on God, and then from there on, the Lord proves to everybody that no, He's willing to be a gracious and a kind God. So Yeshli Tigba, is there hope? Gam as well. Again, Haiti, that I would be. Halayla, in this night. Now, Lila's night, and you add an article to the front of it, you make it a definitive word, and it isn't just the night, it's in this night, the night. In other words, this particular night. Okay? Tonight, tonight. Halayla, tonight. Laish, to be with a man. Same thing as we have up here. I would be. So actually, what you have is you have the same verb sequence of hayot, laish, and hayiti, laish. You just happen to have halayla in the middle of this, but same thing is happening here. I would be, to be with a man, and this is I would be with a man. So the hayiti la Laila, in this night, Laish, to be with her husband. Gam Yaladti, I would also then give birth. Okay? Yelad is a boy, young man. Yelad, Yeladim, or young man. So as a noun, it's Yelad. As a verb, it's Yalad. And to give birth to a young child, to a baby. Okay, Yaladati Banim, that I would give birth to boys, to sons. Okay, would this be possible in this night? Get myself a very quick, very quick wedding, very quick relationship with the husband, and would children come of that? And what Naomi's saying, that ain't going to happen. So um, it's a very moving story. Most certainly in life, all of us go through times of trial and stress and troubles and worries and so forth. Things sometimes aren't working out the way we expected. Might have death in the family, loss of a job, whatever reason there would be for life changes. And there are times we'll certainly start feeling sorry for ourselves. Things aren't happening the way we would like them to happen. What are we going to do? Blame it on the Lord? Blame it on God? Blame it on society? Blame it on ourselves? Yeah, there are times we're going to feel low and without hope, but most certainly at those times we must turn our eyes towards the Lord, turn our eyes on Jesus, and say, "Hey, help me out, pull me out of this mud hole, set my feet on a firm place, set my feet on the rock, and please restore to me whatever hope and goodness that the Lord can provide." And so, we just see this particular passage is, wow, things are falling apart, things are at a big mess, and now what's going to happen from here on? Stay with the story. We'll find out just how the Lord works with everyone here to restore what has been broken, to return what has been lost, and to reestablish something that has fallen apart. So may God bless and may God strengthen you in this day, and may God restore you as well and give you strength. Until the next time.